The ship was dead, and so was everything inside, except for me and the thing I carried. Dim emergency lights pulsed weakly in the vast corridor, their flickering glow casting shifting shadows against the twisted metal walls. A low, rhythmic groan echoed through the ship's skeletal remains, the hull contracting and expanding like the labored breath of something too wounded to die. My boots crunched softly against the debris-littered floor as I moved, careful not to disturb the silence. Even the smallest sound felt intrusive, as if I might wake something that should have stayed asleep. I adjusted my grip on the creature slung over my shoulder. It was heavier than it looked, its thick, matted fur damp with something that smelled faintly metallic. Blood. Its breathing was shallow, a slow and uneven rasp. Alive but barely. This wasn't what I had come here for. The Zifrin relic had been floating dead in the void for who knows how many centuries, a shattered fragment of a war no one remembered. I was here for salvage, old tech, valuable metals, anything I could pry loose and sell before the corporate vultures descended. But then I found it. The thing looked like a wolf, if wolves were twice their normal size and laced with bioengineered muscle. Its sleek black fur had an unnatural sheen, like something grown in a lab rather than born. Even unconscious, its presence felt wrong, something too intelligent to be an animal, too alien to be understood. I should have left it, should have turned back the moment I saw the bodies fused into the ship's walls. The Zifrins were a species long gone, their technology a graveyard of forgotten horrors. This ship was one of their war relics, rumored to house living weapons. Judging by what I'd seen, something had gone wrong. Bodies had been absorbed into the metal itself, faces frozen in silent screams, their skin stretched taut over panels like grotesque circuitry. The ship wasn't just broken, it was devouring itself. A static-drenched whisper crackled through my comms. Not dead, still here. Run. My spine stiffened. The message wasn't coming from my suit. It was coming from the ship. I didn't have time to think about what that meant. A sound drifted through the corridor, soft but deliberate. A clicking noise, rhythmic, methodical, like something testing its limbs. I swallowed hard and moved. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead, an oppressive tunnel of fractured metal and failing gravity stabilizers. My every step sent a ripple through the artificial gravity field, distorting the air just enough to make the walls feel like they were breathing. The weight on my shoulders shifted, a low growl vibrating against my back. I risked a glance. The wolf thing's eyes were open, pale silver, too intelligent. Relax, I muttered, though I wasn't sure if it could understand me. I'm getting us out of here. The creature exhaled, a sound almost like scoff. Something moved in the periphery of my vision, a shadow peeling away from the wall. I twisted just in time to see a shape unfold from the metal, a figure that wasn't there before. No, not a figure, a construct. It had once been Zifrin. The remains of armor and organic plating still clung to a vaguely humanoid form, but the rest was wrong. Elongated limbs, bones interwoven with cables, a head that had no face, just a shifting mess of broken data streams flickering like static. It didn't move like something alive. It twitched, each motion accompanied by a wet, mechanical snap. The ship's emergency lights flickered off. I cursed, adjusting my grip on the creature and shifting my weight. I had two options, run or die. I ran. Behind me, the thing reacted instantly, its movements jerky but fast. I felt the air shift as it lunged, metal scraping against metal as it moved through the wreckage like a marionette cut from its strings. I didn't look back. The corridor split ahead. Left led to the maintenance deck, a dead end. Right led to the hangar. If the escape pods weren't dust by now, I might have a chance. My boots skidded on the unstable flooring as I veered right. The weight of the wolf thing slowed me down, but dropping it wasn't an option. Whatever it was, something wanted it dead, and I wasn't planning to find out why. A distant boom rattled the ship. The emergency systems flickered back to life for a fraction of a second, and in that heartbeat of clarity, I saw them. More figures, half-formed things, emerging from the walls. Their bodies weren't just fused to the ship. They were part of it. A hive mind. I wasn't alone. My pulse hammered against my skull. I pushed forward, ignoring the fire burning in my muscles, the sharp ache of exhaustion creeping into my bones. Another burst of movement, a shape dropping from above. I barely had time to react before something slammed into me. The impact sent me sprawling, the wolf thing tumbling from my grasp. My back hit the floor hard, my vision splintering with stars. A weight pressed against my chest, one of the things crawling over me, its two long fingers twitching against my suit. I caught a glimpse of its face, or what was left of it. Flesh had been peeled back, revealing a network of glowing circuits embedded into bone. It opened its mouth, but no words came, just a burst of garbled binary noise, a glitching scream. My knife was in my hand before I realized I'd drawn it. I drove the blade up, straight through the thing's throat. It convulsed violently, spasming as a spray of something cold and black splattered across my visor. Not blood, something else. I twisted the blade, yanking it free. The thing collapsed, twitching like a dying insect before going still. I rolled to my feet, gasping, searching. The wolf thing lay where it had fallen, its silver eyes locked onto mine. It wasn't struggling. It was watching. The ship shuddered, a sound like metal grinding against bone reverberating through the corridors. The walls tightened, shifting unnaturally. I didn't wait to see what was coming next. I grabbed the creature, slinging it over my shoulder again, and ran. The hangar was close. I could feel it, taste the stale, artificial air that meant open space was near. If I could just get to a functioning pod. A soft hum rippled through the ship, a vibration in my teeth. Something woke up. I felt it before I heard it. The presence, the sheer wrongness of something ancient stretching itself awake. The Zifrin relic was no longer just a dead ship. It had noticed me, and it wasn't going to let me leave. The ship pulsed, a slow, steady rhythm beneath my boots, like the heartbeat of something stirring from a long, restless sleep. The moment the hum vibrated through my chest, I knew I'd run out of time. The thing I carried, the wolf thing, the alien, the whatever the hell, it felt it too. Its body tensed against my shoulder, its breathing sharp and ragged. Maybe it understood more about this place than I did. Maybe it had already accepted what was coming. I hadn't. The hangar was close, but the ship had other plans. The corridor ahead twisted, metal warping, reconfiguring itself. Walls bent inward, reshaping into something new, something wrong. I skidded to a stop, watching as my only exit sealed itself shut. Behind me, the whispers started again. Not words, fragments, chopped up static, glitching syllables that dug into my skull like splinters. The voices didn't come from speakers, didn't echo like normal sound. They spoke from the walls, from the floor, from inside my own head. I wasn't alone. I turned slowly. The figures stood in the dark, half emerged from the ship's shifting walls. They weren't whole. Their bodies were caught between metal and flesh, like unfinished thoughts given shape. Faces stretched too long, limbs bent at impossible angles, their silver-threaded veins glowing faintly beneath decayed skin. And their eyes, when they had them, weren't alive. They didn't move. They just watched. A test. A calculation. A moment of stillness before something decided I didn't belong here. The wolf thing trembled weakly. I tightened my grip on it and took a slow step backward, muscles coiled, waiting. The moment my boot scraped the floor, the silence broke. The figures lurched forward. I ran. There was no time to think, no time to map the changing corridors. The ship was shifting, reassembling, hurting me. A breath of air, too cold to be real, brushed the back of my neck. A presence, something vast and unseen, pressing against my mind like 1,000 invisible fingers clawing through my thoughts. It wasn't just chasing me. It was inside me. I gritted my teeth, forcing the intrusion back. No time for fear. No time for anything but survival. A sharp turn. A broken bulkhead. A glimpse of something ahead. An access ladder leading down. No way of knowing where it led, but staying here wasn't an option. I lunged, gripping the rungs one-handed, hoisting myself down as fast as I could manage with the wolf thing weighing me down. The whispers screeched in protest. The air crackled, electric wrong. My muscles seized, a split second of paralyzing pain crawling down my spine. Something tried to stop me. I bit down on the inside of my cheek, hard enough to draw blood. The sharp, coppery taste grounded me, broke the static's hold just long enough for me to drop the last few feet and hit the floor hard. The second I landed, the weight on my shoulder shifted. The wolf thing moved. Not much. Just a twitch of its limbs, a flicker of its pale, silver eyes. But that was more than before. I set it down carefully, chest heaving. It tried to push itself up and failed. Its back legs remained still, dead weight beneath it. But the frustration in its body language, the sharp flick of its ears, told me what it already knew. It was paralyzed. I exhaled, running a hand through sweat-damp hair. Yeah, we're both screwed, aren't we? The creature's gaze met mine. It didn't answer, but it didn't have to. The ship shuddered. Somewhere above, metal groaned and shrieked, as if the walls themselves were angry. The figures hadn't followed me down, but that didn't mean we were safe. I took a quick look at my surroundings. The space was small, barely more than a maintenance tunnel, littered with old debris, rusted tools, shattered panels, dried pools of something too dark to be oil. The only light came from flickering strips along the walls, bathing everything in a sickly, greenish glow. But there was a door. It wasn't much. Half-crushed, barely hanging onto its frame. But beyond it, I could see a faint blue glow. Power. If I could get to the core systems, I might be able to force the ship's emergency protocols, open the hangar manually, override the lockdown. Maybe even send a distress signal, though I wasn't sure who I'd be calling. No time to hesitate. I grabbed the wolf thing again, muttering, "I hope you're worth this," and pushed forward. The door resisted at first, its mechanisms jammed with age. But with a solid kick, the rusted frame gave way, and we stumbled through. The room beyond was different. Unlike the rest of the decayed, dying ship, this space was alive. The walls pulsed with faint bioluminescent veins, the air thick with the hum of residual energy. In the center of the room, half sunken into the floor, was a console, an old Zifrin interface, its holographic displays flickering weakly. I lowered the wolf thing down and crossed to the console, fingers hovering over the unfamiliar controls. The system was still active, barely, a few commands away from collapse. I wasn't a hacker, but I was an engineer. And machines? Machines, I understood. I exhaled, set my fingers to work, and started rewriting the ship's final moments. The screens pulsed erratically, data streams shifting too fast for me to follow. Warnings flashed in a language I couldn't read, red sigils blinking like dying stars. Come on, come on. I bypassed a security layer, forcing the system into manual override. A final screen appeared. Core access granted. Override hangar lockdown. Y/N. I exhaled, reaching for the controls. The wolf thing growled. Low. Warning. I froze. The air shifted. Something moved behind me. Not footsteps. Not even sound. Just a feeling, asterisk, like the air had been displaced by something vast and unseen. Asterisk. Slowly, carefully, I turned my head. A shadow loomed in the doorway. Not one of the half-formed figures. This was something else. Taller. Sharper. More deliberate. It didn't twitch. It didn't lurch. It simply stood there, watching. The ship's whispers crawled back into my skull. But this time, they didn't glitch. This time, they formed words. You shouldn't be here. The ship wasn't just waking up. It had noticed me. And now it was deciding what to do with me. The thing in the doorway didn't move. It didn't need to. The sheer weight of its presence filled the room like a leaden pressure against my ribs, squeezing, waiting. It wasn't like the others. Those half-formed husks twitching in the ship's corridors, broken and mindless. No, this one was whole, deliberate, aware, and it had spoken. The wolf thing growled weakly, its silver eyes locked on the figure. I could feel its muscles twitch beneath its fur, the useless weight of its hind legs keeping it pinned, but its body screamed with tension. It knew this thing. I forced my breathing steady, my hand hovering near the console. The override hangar lockdown. Y/N *** command blinked, waiting for input. If I could just reach. The figure tilted its head. Not a natural motion. Too slow, too calculated, like a machine testing the limits of an unfamiliar body. Then it stepped forward. The ship shuddered in response. The faint blue veins in the walls dimmed, as if something was drawing power from the room itself. I had seen some disturbing things in my time, but this was something worse. This was a presence, something that didn't just exist within the ship. It was the ship. The wolf thing exhaled sharply, like a curse, its fur bristling. The figure finally spoke again, but its mouth didn't move. The words came from the walls, the floor from inside my bones. This vessel does not belong to you. My throat felt dry. Yeah? Looks like it doesn't belong to you either. It's dead. A pause. A pulse of something electric in the air. Then, it is waking. The lights flickered. The console beside me glitched, Zifrin script twisting, warping, turning into something wrong. I gritted my teeth. Not if I shut it down first. My fingers lunged for the console, slamming the Y command. The ship screamed. Not a sound. Not really. But it was there, a reverberation deep in my skull, a pressure behind my eyes. The ship's veins flared violently, blue light surging through the walls like a pulse of agony. The figure reacted instantly. One moment, it was across the room. The next, it was in front of me. I barely had time to move. A flash of movement. A hand, if it could be called that, slammed against my chest plate. Not a strike. A grip. Too strong, too precise. The room vanished. For a split second, I wasn't standing in the ship anymore. I was somewhere else. A battlefield. Flashes of Zifrin warships crumbling. A sky torn apart by energy fire. Creatures, the wolf things, but not broken like the one beside me, tearing through metal and flesh alike, their bodies engineered for war. And the ship, this ship, drifting through the wreckage, absorbing it, feeding. I saw a city drowning in shadows, Zifrin structures collapsing as something ancient wove its way through the ruins, consuming everything it touched. And then, I was back. The figure still had me. I gasped for air, my mind struggling to process what I'd just seen. The weight of it, the sheer wrongness burned behind my eyes. It had shown me its memories. No, not just memories. A warning. The ship wasn't just a relic. It wasn't just alive. It was hungry. I forced my arm free, swinging my knife at the figure's neck. The blade connected, but didn't cut A flash of light burst from the impact, sending me sprawling backward. My back hit the console, knocking the wind from my lungs. The wolf thing snarled, dragging itself forward with its front limbs, something desperate and furious in its movements. It locked eyes with the figure and spoke. Not in words, not in anything I could understand. But the ship understood. The walls trembled. The other voices, the broken husks of the Zifrin war forms. Howled in unison, The figure snapped its head toward them, and for the first time, it hesitated. I didn't waste the chance. I grabbed the nearest tool, some kind of rusted maintenance rod, and swung it directly into the console's power relay. A surge of energy burst from the system. Sparks erupted, the walls convulsed, and suddenly, the hangar doors began to open. A gust of cold air rushed through the corridors, the artificial gravity flickering in and out. The figure twisted toward me, but too late. The ship was already reacting. I lunged for the wolf thing, dragging it up onto my shoulder. We're leaving. The airlock to the hangar yawned open, revealing the expanse of the docking bay beyond. Most of the ships inside were ruined, twisted relics of whatever battle had stranded this place. But one vessel still had power. A small Zifrin fighter, its cockpit lit, its engines flickering to life. I ran. Behind me, the ship screamed again. The figure lunged forward. But the wolf thing reacted. It twisted in my grip, locking its gaze on the approaching entity. And for the first time since I'd found it, its body glowed. A pulse of raw, silver energy erupted from its form, slamming into the figure like a gravitational shockwave. The figure reeled, its form distorting, unraveling, merging with the ship's veins. The wolf thing shuddered, its strength spent. I held onto it tighter and ran for the ship. The fighter's canopy opened as I approached, responding to my desperate, fumbling touch. I threw myself inside, dragging the wolf thing with me, slamming my fist against the emergency launch sequence. The ship's engines roared to life. The relic vessel convulsed, its very structure warping, as if trying to swallow us whole before we could escape. I forced the throttle forward. The ship lurched, the docking clamps snapping free. And then, we were in space. The Zifrin relic shrank behind us, its once imposing frame twisting, shifting, closing in on itself. The creature inside it, the thing that had spoken to me, wasn't following. It had retreated, because it knew. It knew something had changed. And whatever the wolf thing was, whatever it had done, it had been enough to make the ship afraid. The cockpit alarms blared warnings, system readouts flashing red. The fighter was damaged, barely space-worthy. But we were alive. I exhaled, turning to the creature beside me. It was weak, its breathing shallow, but its eyes were still sharp. For the first time, it looked at me not with wariness, but understanding. I didn't know what it was. Didn't know why the ship had wanted it dead, or why it had been left behind. But I had this sinking feeling that whatever had just happened wasn't over. The ship groaned as it tumbled through the void, alarms wailing in protest. The Zifrin fighter wasn't built for this kind of reckless escape. Half its systems were failing, the hull rattling like a tin can in a storm. The moment I'd punched the thrusters, I knew I'd made a gamble that might not pay off. But I didn't have a choice. The relic ship, that thing, was still there. Watching, waiting, even as it twisted into itself, retreating it hadn't pursued. Not yet, because it knew that whatever I had just taken, whoever this wolf thing really was, it wasn't supposed to leave. The creature lay beside me, breathing ragged, eyes half-lidded but aware. Its body still refused to move properly, its hind legs lifeless. Whatever had been done to it, whatever damage it had suffered, wasn't healing. I reached forward, flicking through the fighter's failing systems, searching for anything that might keep us alive. Fuel? Low. Shields? Non-existent. Weapons? Barely functional. The NAV computer was still operational, though. I keyed in the closest habitable sector, a distant outpost on the edges of controlled space, and hoped we wouldn't disintegrate before we got there. The ship bucked as another alarm flared. Something behind us had changed. I glanced at the sensors and felt my stomach drop. The relic ship wasn't closing in. It wasn't pursuing. It was activating. Energy signatures surged across its surface, like veins igniting with some dormant power, finally waking up. The structure pulsed, shuddered. Reformed. I watched as it grew. Its hull stretched outward, twisted spires of blackened metal unfurling like jagged wings. It was no longer just a dying husk drifting in space. It was something else now, something alive. The fighter's systems flashed red, an incoming transmission. The signal wasn't one I could hear in the usual sense. It wasn't even directed at me. It was directed at the creature beside me. The wolf thing's ears twitched weakly, its eyes flicking toward the screen as symbols flashed across it. Glitching, shifting, some ancient language bleeding through the ship's failing translator. One word, a name, the creature's name. I didn't recognize the word, didn't understand the language, but the moment it appeared, I felt its weight. So did the creature. Its body tensed, as if hearing something I couldn't. Its eyes flickered with something sharp, ancient, broken, like a memory buried beneath layers of time. Then it spoke. Not aloud. Inside my head. A single, fragmented thought, more emotion than words. I remember. The relic ship shuddered again. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't stopping us. It was calling. I gritted my teeth. We're not going back. The wolf thing turned its gaze on me, and for the first time since I'd found it, I saw something else beneath its exhaustion, beneath its pain. Resolve. It didn't want to go back, either, but it knew something I didn't. I tightened my grip on the controls and forced more power into the engines. The ship groaned, barely holding together, but it moved. Faster. Away from that thing. Away from whatever history the wolf thing had abandoned. The relic ship loomed behind us, still pulsing, still watching. Then, it let us go. I expected pursuit, expected a last desperate attempt to reclaim what it had lost. But it never came. Instead, the relic ship folded in on itself, its structure twisting, warping, asterisk, asterisk, vanishing, asterisk, asterisk. Not an explosion, not a jump. It simply ceased to be, like it had never been there at all. The silence that followed was suffocating. I sat there, hands still clenched around the flight controls, breath coming too fast. The wolf thing exhaled slowly beside me, its body finally relaxing, like something heavy had been lifted from its shoulders. I didn't know what had just happened, didn't know why it had happened, but we were free. The fighter trembled as the outpost's coordinates locked in. I spared one last glance at the empty void behind us, half expecting the ship to return to undo its own disappearance. Nothing. Just space. Just silence. I exhaled, leaning back, feeling the weight of everything settle in. The wolf thing closed its eyes, exhaustion finally claiming it. Its breathing even out, steady. It had survived. We had survived. And whatever it was, whatever the relic ship had wanted it for, that secret was buried now. I didn't know if that was a good thing. But as the damaged fighter limped toward the outpost, fading stars stretching ahead, I knew one thing for certain. This wasn't the end. Not even close.